If you watch Rafael Nadal right before he serves a tennis ball, you are not just watching an athlete playing a sport.
Right. It's a whole
It
production.
really is. You're watching a man execute a highly precise, unyielding 146-step sequence.
Yeah, that number is just staggering.
I mean, he tugs his shirt, he tucks his hair behind his left ear, then his right ear, he wipes his face, and, he notoriously picks his wedgie every single time.
Yeah, and to the untrained eye, it looks totally like a compulsion, or at the very least, this deep-seated superstition that he just cannot shake.
Exactly. But then you zoom out, right,
Yeah.
away from elite sports, and you look at, say, a 1950s housewife baking a Betty Crocker cake.
Oh, that's a classic example.
Right. She's deliberately cracking a fresh egg into a mix that was explicitly marketed as instant. It didn't need extra ingredients.
Totally counterintuitive.
And then, take it even further. You look at these two performance artists, Marina Abramović and Ulay, who chose to end their decade-long relationship by walking the Great Wall of China from opposite ends.
For 90 days, right?
90 days. Enduring brutal conditions just to meet in the middle, embrace, and say goodbye forever.
The spectrum there is just incredible. I mean, we are talking about behaviors that span from the completely mundane, everyday actions in a kitchen all the way to these absolutely epic, life-altering gestures.
And that massive spectrum brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. We're exploring this fascinating stack of research centered around Michael Norton's book, The Ritual Effect.
It's such an eye-opening book.
It really is, because we're looking at hard proof that rituals aren't just these ancient mystical ceremonies reserved for religious holidays or, secret societies.
Right, they're so much more practical than that.
Exactly. They are everyday, highly customizable tools you can actively use to hack your emotions, boost your performance, and deepen your relationships. Okay, let's unpack this.
We really need to unpack it because, as a culture, we tend to profoundly misunderstand what a ritual actually is.
We really do. We confuse it all the time.
Yeah, we confuse it with routine. And by the end of this deep dive, you are going to understand the critical difference between living a life that is merely automated and living one that is fully animated.
I love that. Automated versus animated. But before we can actually harness that power to animate our lives, we have to establish the boundary line.
Right, the line between ritual and habit.
Exactly. We have to separate the two. And to do that, I want you, the listener, to think about your morning routine for a second.
Oh, this is a great test.
Yeah, so what do you do first when you get to the bathroom? Do you brush your teeth and then take a shower? Or do you shower and then brush your teeth?
It's funny, when researchers ask this question, people are remarkably divided. It almost always falls into a 50-50 split.
That is wild. But here is the real test. I want you to imagine waking up tomorrow and deliberately reversing your specific order.
Just flipping it entirely.
Right. So if you are a brush-then-shower person, imagine stepping into the shower first with unbrushed teeth. How does that physically feel in your body?
For a lot of people, that's deeply unsettling.
Yeah. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't care, it gets me clean either way, who cares about the order, then you just have a morning habit.
Right, a pure habit.
But if the very thought of reversing that sequence makes you feel inexplicably weird or off balance, or like your whole day is going to be slightly tilted, you don't have a habit. You have a ritual.
Yeah, and that visceral physical sensation of feeling off is the perfect dividing line. It totally reveals the underlying psychology.
Which is what, exactly?
Well, habits are entirely about the what. They are automated, algorithmic behaviors designed purely for efficiency.
Getting the job done.
Exactly. The brain loves them because they conserve energy. You want to get from point A to point B with minimal cognitive load. But rituals, they're entirely about the how.
The how.
Yeah, they're animated, they are emotion generators, you don't just want the clean teeth. Your brain expects the specific emotional comfort of starting your day the quote-unquote right way.
So if a habit is like driving on autopilot, just to get from point A to point B as fast as possible, a ritual is taking the scenic route, specifically to feel the sunshine on your face.
That is a perfect way to put it.
You're doing it for the internal experience, not the destination. But that brings up this strange psychological quirk called the ritual stance.
Oh, yes. This is fascinating.
And it goes all the way back to 1948, right, with B.F. Skinner and his pigeons.
Yeah. The Skinner box experiment is basically foundational here. Skinner took hungry pigeons and placed them in cages with a mechanism that delivered food.
Standard psychology stuff so far.
Right, but instead of rewarding the birds for a specific action, like pressing a lever, he just set the machine to drop food completely randomly.
Just on a timer.
Exactly. No matter what the pigeon did, the food just arrived on an arbitrary timer.
And the pigeons basically lost their minds, didn't they?
They really did.
They started doing these incredibly specific, elaborate dances. Like one bird would turn counterclockwise 3 times between every food drop.
Yeah, another bird kept thrusting its head into the upper corner of the cage over and over again.
It's so weird. They developed these intense, superstitious rituals because they genuinely believed their completely random physical actions were controlling the food supply.
Exactly. They were trying to impose order on chaos. And humans do the exact same thing.
We do.
We do. When we observe actions that have what anthropologists call causal opacity, meaning we cannot see any logical, mechanical reason for why an action causes a result, we don't assume the action is pointless.
Oh, I see.
Our brains are actually wired to assume it must have a deeper, hidden meaning.
Right, like kids watching an adult tap a glass jar uselessly with a feather before twisting off the lid. The kids will meticulously copy the feather tap, assuming it's this vital, invisible part of the unlocking process.
Yeah, they just accept it as necessary.
But wait, I have to push back here. That makes no logical sense. If I know a rain dance doesn't actually cause rain, or if Nadal knows that picking his shorts doesn't physically alter the aerodynamics of a tennis ball.
Right, he knows it doesn't change the ball.
So why are we, as logical human beings, so obsessed with performing these causally opaque actions?
What's fascinating here is that we have to look at what is actually being controlled. While rituals do not change the external world like, the rain dance doesn't manipulate the clouds. They dramatically change our internal world.
Oh, so it's an inside job.
Exactly. In the face of stress, anxiety, and uncertainty, performing a rigid, causally opaque sequence of actions regulates our nervous system. It gives us a tangible sense of agency when the environment around us feels completely out of our hands.
But the value isn't in the external payoff at all. It's an internal regulation mechanism.
Spot on.
But what actually activates that mechanism?
Looking at the research, it seems like the secret ingredient that gives a ritual its psychological power is actually the effort we pour into it.
Yes, the effort is the catalyst. Behavioral scientists refer to this as the IKEA effect.
Like the furniture store.
Exactly like the furniture store. They ran a brilliant experiment where people were asked to put a price tag on a totally boring, basic, black, seedy storage box.
If participants were handed a fully assembled box, they said they'd pay about 48 cents for it. But if they were handed the flat pack materials and had to assemble the box themselves,
Let me guess, they valued it more.
way more. They were willing to pay 63% more for the exact same object.
Wait, 63%? Just because they put it together?
Yep. The psychological mechanism is cognitive dissonance. Our brains think, well, I just spent 20 minutes wrestling with cardboard, therefore, this box must be highly valuable to me. Our labor literally creates our love.
That perfectly explains the Betty Crocker cake mix story from the 1950s.
It's the exact same principle.
Because when instant cake mix first hit the grocery store shelves, it was a massive technological hit, right? But then sales completely stalled out.
They just tanked.
So the company panicked and hired a prominent psychologist named Ernest Dichter. And he ran focus groups with these mid-century housewives and discovered something wild. The cake mix was actually too easy.
Right. It lacked the necessary friction. For a 1950s housewife, baking a cake was supposed to be a demonstration of maternal care and effort.
Yeah, it was a role they were fulfilling.
Exactly. And because the powder did all the work, the women felt a profound sense of guilt serving it to their families. It felt like cheating.
So Dichter's brilliant, totally counterintuitive solution was to make the product harder to use.
Which sounds crazy for a business to do.
Right. He told the company to remove the powdered eggs from the mix. Suddenly, the baker had to physically take a fresh egg, crack it, and whisk it into the bowl themselves.
And sales skyrocketed.
All because of an egg.
Yeah, that tiny bit of added friction, that physical effort of cracking the egg, transformed an industrial convenience food into a labor of love. It restored the ritual of caregiving.
We still see this exact same psychology today, though. Look at the intense online backlash against the SNO.
Oh, the baby bassinet.
Yeah, that high-tech automated baby rocking bassinet. It senses a baby crying and automatically rocks them back to sleep. You see people getting actively hostile toward parents who use it on forums and social media.
Yeah, people get really angry about it. And this raises an important question about modern values. That hostility isn't really about the bassinet.
What is it about then?
It proves that we culturally value the physical exhaustion and effort of caregiving over the ease of optimization. We want to see the sweat equity because we subconsciously equate effort with love.
It's so ironic, though. We live in a culture absolutely obsessed with life hacks and extreme optimization.
Oh, completely.
You have tech executives drinking meal replacement shakes like Soylent just so they don't have to waste precious minutes chewing actual food.
It's efficiency at all costs.
But if effort and friction are what create meaning, then by optimizing every single second of our lives to be perfectly efficient, we might actually be stripping all the joy and purpose out of it.
We are starving ourselves of meaning, and I think people are starting to feel that void.
Yeah, I feel like you can sense that cultural shift.
Absolutely. It's why you are seeing this massive surge in what Norton calls DIY rituals.
Do-it-yourself rituals.
Right. Since we aren't getting that built-in friction from our daily chores anymore, or relying strictly on legacy rituals passed down from organized religion, we are intentionally manufacturing our own friction. We are cobbling together rituals from our personal cultural toolkits.
Like the couple in the research who buys a brand new homebrewing beer kit every time the season changes.
Yes.
They spend hours boiling hocks and bottling it together.
Mm-hmm.
Or the volunteers at a New York food pantry during the height of the pandemic.
That story's so touching.
They were terrified of getting sick, obviously. But every Tuesday at exactly 1:55 p.m., right before they opened the doors to the public, they stood in a circle and did a massive communal hug.
Just manufacturing that connection.
Exactly. They constructed that themselves, and it meant everything to their courage.
Because that investment of effort, whether it's the physical labor of brewing beer or the emotional vulnerability of a synchronized hug, it does more than just make us value the moment.
Right.
It turns the physical action into a psychological tool that we can use to dial up specific emotional states precisely when we need them most.
Well, let's talk about how to actually use that tool,
Hmm.
especially in the high-stakes world of performance.
Yeah.
Because if you are terrified before a big presentation or a crucial game and someone tells you to just calm down,
Oh, it is genuinely the worst advice they could possibly give you.
it really is. It actively backfires, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Because it triggers what researchers call the arousal suppression doom loop.
The doom loop, that
It-
sounds intense.
It is. When you are anxious, your heart is racing, your energy is high. If you try to suppress that anxiety to quote unquote calm down, you almost always fail.
Because your body is already in fight or flight.
Right. Your brain interprets that high energy as a threat, realizes you can't control it, and then you get anxious about the fact that you're failing to calm down. The anxiety compounds.
It's a total disaster. So instead of trying to suppress that high voltage energy, high performers use rituals to channel it.
They use it to focus.
Yeah, they use their ritual to access what the filmmaker Errol Morris called that elusive more. Look at Sviatoslav Richter, one of the greatest classical pianists in history.
Oh, the lobster story.
Yes. Before he walked on stage, he had to have this specific pink plastic lobster. He kept it in a satin-lined box, and he carried it with him until the exact moment he sat at the piano.
Even the Harvard faculty band, which is a real rock band made up of Harvard professors, by the way, they have specific, rigid pre-show rituals to deal with their stage fright.
Really? Harvard professors get stage fright.
Oh, absolutely. And the neuroscience shows us exactly why these rituals work. Engaging in a highly structured ritual physically dampens our brain's response to failure.
It changes the brain physically.
Yes, it significantly lowers something called error-related negativity, or EARN.
Okay, so EARN is basically the brain's internal alarm system screaming, I messed up, something is wrong.
Exactly.
But how does carrying a plastic lobster or doing a pre-show handshake actually turn off that alarm? Because logically, the brain still knows it's about to do something terrifying.
Logically, yes. But neurologically, rituals command so much working memory that they essentially hijack your brain's bandwidth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when you are hyper-focused on executing a precise physical sequence of actions, your brain literally does not have the spare processing power to obsess over potential failure. The rigid physical action acts as a circuit breaker for that anxiety loop. It quiets the EARN scream.
That makes so much sense. It's like trying to do complex multiplication while juggling.
Right.
Your brain can only handle so much. This totally explains why you see Tom Brady and Bill Belichick literally digging a hole and burying a football in the dirt after a terrible loss to the Dolphins.
It's the exact same mechanism.
They enacted a physical burial ritual. It hijacked their working memory, dampened the lingering negativity, allowed them to bounce back, and they subsequently went on to win the Super Bowl.
Rituals provide a clean slate, but they aren't just for bouncing back from failure or managing terror. They are equally powerful tools for savoring.
Savoring. Like enjoying things more.
Yes, they expand what psychologists call our emo-diversity.
Emo-diversity.
Yeah, experiencing a wide range of emotions, not just constant happiness, but awe, amusement, and even a little poignant sadness. That diversity is deeply linked to our overall mental well-being and longevity.
You see this brilliantly utilized in the food and beverage industry.
Hmm.
Like, think of the 9-step pouring ritual for a Stella Artois beer.
Oh, yeah, the whole skimming the foam thing.
Right, you have the purification of the glass,
Yeah.
the skimming of the foam at a precise 45-degree angle. It's essentially a marketing gimmick, sure.
Totally a gimmick.
But if you actually perform it, it forces you to slow down. It forces your brain to process sensory details. It usually filters out, allowing you to savor the drink in a way you never would if you just twisted off a bottle cap while staring at your phone.
Or consider the Red Hat Society.
Oh, I've seen them.
Right. It's this massive international group of older women who wear purple dresses and floppy red hats. Their core ritual whenever they gather is to eat dessert first.
I love that.
It's a playful, physical manifestation of savoring life right now. By breaking the standard rules of a meal, they create an immediate shared sense of joy and rebellion.
And on the flip side of indulgence, rituals also give us profound self-control. They reframe discipline.
They really do.
Think about the classic marshmallow test. Kids who are told they can have 2 marshmallows if they simply wait 15 minutes usually squirm, suffer, and ultimately fail.
Because the deprivation is just too difficult to endure.
Exactly.
But anthropologists found a fascinating loophole. If kids spend months playing a game called drum beats, where they have to move their bodies in ways that directly contradict the drum tempo, which requires immense physical discipline, they last significantly longer in the marshmallow test later on.
Just from playing a drum game.
Just from the game. But here's the catch. It only works if the drumming wasn't explained to them as a practical, rule-based exercise. Wait, really?
Yeah. If it was treated like a meaningful, culturally significant ritual, their self-control skyrocketed. The ritual reframes denial as a meaningful act of participation rather than just a punishment.
That is wild. But there's a massive warning label we have to attach here, right?
Definitely.
Rituals can tip from being a useful psychological tool into a terrifying trap. I'm thinking of things like obsessive-compulsive disorder or severe eating disorders like anorexia.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to remember that rituals are physical recipes we use to bake a specific emotional state.
Right, the internal regulation.
Exactly. With OCD or anorexia, the ritual usually starts as a desperate way to self-soothe. It's an attempt to regain a feeling of control in a chaotic, overwhelming world.
Which makes sense as a coping mechanism initially.
It does. But eventually, the brakes fail. The person becomes entirely beholden to the recipe, repeating it endlessly regardless of the outcome. The tool becomes the master. The ritual ends up controlling them. It is a deeply powerful, double-edged mechanism. And while it's incredible how we use these physical recipes to hack our own individual brains, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, where are we going?
The true magic of rituals happens when you take that constructed reality and you invite someone else to live inside it with you.
Ah, you're talking about the architecture of relationships.
Exactly.
Rituals are the foundational building blocks of what relationship psychologists call shared reality. It's the profound feeling that you and your partner, or you and your best friend, possess your own private, exclusive, cinematic universe.
Like the couple in the research who, for 20 years, have been hiding a cheap plastic ladybug in each other's belongings.
Right, it's so sweet.
Right, they never talk about it. They just hide it in a toothbrush cup or slip it into a suitcase before a business trip. Or the famous philosophers, Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir.
Oh, their arrangement was fascinating.
They famously rejected the institution of traditional marriage, but they sat down on a park bench and signed a renewable 2-year relationship contract.
What's vital here is distinguishing between a relationship routine and a relationship ritual.
Okay, what's the difference?
Let's take something totally mundane, like going to the grocery store on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
For one couple, this is a dreaded, mindless chore, a routine to be survived.
Just checking boxes.
Right. For another couple, it is the absolute highlight of their week. They get their specific coffees first, they talk to the butcher, they playfully debate over which apples to buy. The physical action is identical, but the how transforms it into a symbol of their connection.
But here is the trap for couples.
Hmm.
Let's say you and your partner get takeout every Friday night. You think it's a sacred romantic ritual. It's your thing.
Yeah.
But your partner just thinks it's a lazy routine because they're simply too tired to cook.
The research is brutal on this point. In that scenario where the meaning is asymmetrical, that couple is mathematically no happier than a couple who doesn't do anything special at all.
Ouch.
Yeah, the magic isn't in the takeout food, it's in the shared belief. You both have to buy into the same reality.
You can't just enforce a ritual on someone. You actually have to communicate the meaning behind it. And that reality also has to be heavily guarded, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It has to be exclusive. Rituals immediately lose their power if they are freely distributed to outsiders. The exclusivity is what creates the boundary of the relationship.
Oh, this explains the Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis drama from a few years ago.
Oh, the salad dressing.
Yes. He was reportedly absolutely furious because she made her quote-unquote special salad dressing, which was apparently their exclusive private relationship ritual,
Yeah.
and she took it to share with her new boyfriend, Harry Styles.
Right.
You do not share the sacred salad dressing.
I mean, it sounds silly to outsiders, but psychologically, it feels like a profound betrayal of the shared identity. You are giving away the blueprints to the private universe.
That makes perfect sense.
And this concept of shared identity scales up from couples to entire families, particularly around the holidays.
Oh yeah, family holidays. The sheer logistical nightmare of getting an extended family together,
Yeah.
managing the seating charts, the dietary restrictions, the decades-old grudges.
It's a lot.
It's all entirely smoothed out by rituals. But rituals don't organize themselves.
No, they don't. They require a kingkeeper.
A kingkeeper. I want you to think about your own family right now. Who is the person doing the invisible, heavy, emotional labor?
Every family has one.
Who is the one who insists on cooking the specific generational recipes? Who organizes the chaotic group chats? And who forces everyone to sit down and play that weird board game after dinner?
Right, the glue.
The kingkeeper holds the shared reality together. So what happens to your family's identity when that person gets tired, or when they eventually pass the baton?
It's an incredibly vulnerable transition for a family. Without the kingkeeper, the rituals dissolve, and the family can drift apart into a collection of strangers.
That's a scary thought.
It is. Which brings us to perhaps the most profound function of rituals. If they are the glue that binds our identities and relationships together, they're also the exact tools we must reach for when those bonds inevitably break.
Navigating the void. When we go through a major life change or a rite of passage, we enter this liminal space, the betwixt and between.
It's a terrifying place to be.
We aren't who we used to be, but we aren't quite who we are becoming yet.
We see this vividly in breakups and divorce, like going back to Ulay and Marina Abramovich. After 10 years of living and making art as a single merged entity, they didn't just pack up an apartment and unfriend each other.
No, they couldn't just do that.
They needed a ritual to transition their identities. So they walked the Great Wall of China. She started at the Yellow Sea, he started in the Gobi Desert. They walked for 90 days, endured incredibly harsh elements, met in the middle, embraced, and then parted ways for 22 years.
No.
The immense physical effort of the ritual matched the emotional magnitude of the separation. It allowed them to close the chapter.
And when it comes to the ultimate separation-death rituals, or how we, as the philosopher Michel de Montaigne said, deprive death of its strangeness,
Yes.
look at the American Civil War. The death toll was so unfathomable and sudden that women adopted strict mourning dress codes to process the grief.
The visual signaling.
Right? They wore heavy black crepe for a specific period, then transitioned to lighter gray, and finally to lavender. It wasn't just fashion. It was a visual public signaling of the passage of grief. It told the community exactly where that person was in their mourning process, and it guided the widow through the liminal space.
And sometimes we have to invent entirely new rituals when the old ones don't fit our reality.
Yeah.
You brought up Mike Brick earlier, the songwriter who was diagnosed with terminal colon cancer.
Yeah, his story is incredible.
He deeply wanted an Irish wake, but he realized how profoundly sad and absurd it was that he'd missed the best party ever thrown in his honor. So he threw a living wake at a bar in Texas. He played with his band, he looked his loved ones in the eye, and he mouthed, "I love you" from the stage. He used a DIY ritual to take agency over his own ending.
Which is incredibly beautiful and empowering. But what about when there is no clear ending?
Ah, ambiguous loss.
Right. Dealing with a family member who has severe Alzheimer's or dealing with an estranged child. The person is physically alive, but the relationship as you knew it is entirely gone. How on earth do you mourn a ghost who is still breathing?
It is one of the hardest psychological states a human being can endure because the brain just cannot find closure. Amy Hopkins, a woman dealing with profound ambiguous loss, found her ritual in the freezing waters off the coast of Maine.
Cold water plunges, right?
Yeah, she started doing daily cold water plunges.
Huh.
The sheer, shocking physical intensity of the freezing water triggers the mammalian dive reflex.
Which does what exactly?
It physically forces the brain to stop spiraling into the regrets of the past or the terror of the future. It forcefully grounds you in the immediate surviving present. The ritual buys you a moment of peace.
So what does this all mean for the famous Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief? We are all taught that it's this neat checklist, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Mhm.
We think if we just check the boxes, we win.
The data strongly pushes back on that framework. It's not a linear checklist, and acceptance is not this peaceful, sunlit peak you finally summit and stay on forever.
That's not a finish line.
Not at all. Acceptance is a gradual, messy, sliding plateau. Grief is something you get through, not something you get over. In that dark, disorienting process, rituals aren't a cure. They're simply the handrails we hold on to keep from falling as we walk through the dark.
To wrap up this incredible journey, whether it is a legacy ritual passed down for centuries to help a community grieve, or a completely DIY ritual you literally invented yesterday with a plastic ladybug and a toothbrush cup to make your partner smile, rituals are our ultimate emotion generators.
They truly are.
They take the mundane, algorithmic habits of our lives, the black and white efficiency of merely getting through the day, and they turn them into animated technicolor experiences.
Which leaves me with a final thought, an assignment of sorts for you listening right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about a completely mindless, automated habit you do every single day. Maybe it's brewing your morning coffee or walking the dog around the exact same block. What is one small, deliberate, almost pointless physical change you could add to that routine tomorrow to transform it into a moment of pure savoring?
I love that challenge. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It is time to step out of autopilot and start crafting your own ritual signature. Because whether it's adjusting a tennis racket, cracking a fresh egg, or taking the first step on a 90-day walk across the continent, the magic isn't in what you are doing. The magic is in exactly how you choose to do it.